For the fireside chat with Sanjeev sir, I invite Rohit Dashrathi, our EC member and Joint Managing Director, Rucha Group, on stage, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, we could really feel the passion with which you are talking about Ather Energy and being electric ready. And sir, already Amit has given a great sneak peek in your life. And let me tell you why the man we have here on stage is the man who is the most important in this automobile game. Sir, we already got to know about your journey from being an IITian, having worked into amazing organizations like Tata Motor, Bosch, Genpact LLC, Acme Telepower, and now Ather. But if I could correctly read it pinned with lines throughout my research for this interaction, your average duration of getting elevated to a higher road within the same organization is merely 16 months. It's just 16 months. And it's a matter of sheer pride to host one of the most capable asset of Indian automobile industry.
Thank you.
So, sir, shuru se shuru karte hain. Now, let's move towards the first question. But first of all, I would like to formulate the basis for my question. So we all see this photograph. Sir, we would love to know आपकी स्माइल का राज क्या है?
बाल नहीं है दिखाने को, दांत दिखा सकता हूँ.
That's how IITians think. Sir, the reason why I asked this question is because it is jokingly said that in automobile domain, COO is always termed as crisis only officer. Either it is the manpower crisis that is in picture, or it is supply chain crisis and whatnot. We would really love to know from COO's specs about what are such top operational industry crises for India in being electric ready, and how we can as an industry cope up with them.
So to be honest, it's a myth that it's crisis only. I'll tell you why. And I give an example. I'm here the whole day and I haven't got a single call from the factory or from anywhere.
Wow.
Right? And that's the evolution of industry, and that's the role that empowering the right talent can play. And I spoke a lot about talent, right? So how do you get the right talent? How do you empower the talent so that you're not always in crisis only mode? But to answer your question, to highlight what are I think the biggest crisis today, and it's a little bit, I would say, paradoxical, because on one side we talk about not having enough jobs in India, and on the other side everyone speaks about not having right skilled people. That's the worst situation is worse in case of manufacturing. And I spoke about it, how engineers do not want to work in engineering companies. Whoever wants to come in to work in engineering company, they don't want to work on manufacturing. If they want to work in manufacturing, at least they don't want to go to shop floor. So I think the biggest crisis, and it's not something which has an impact only today, which will also have an impact in the future, is how do we ensure that we continue to develop the right talent on one side, and how do we ensure that we keep making the jobs in manufacturing. I'll tell you also one of the reasons why a lot of people do not want to come to manufacturing. Today the whole world is talking about empowerment, right? You say, hey, I'm free to do what I want to do. The moment they come to manufacturing, traditionally, if you look at traditional setup, there is a boss who will say, dictate, do this, and you do. You don't apply your mind. Today's generation doesn't want to do that way. And that is where the second biggest crisis is, how do today's managers, how do today's companies adapt themselves in providing that space to the newer generation which is coming into workforce to say, hey, it's also a place where you can work with technology. And I spoke about how it's also important in the shop floor. How do we provide them space to take their decisions and go forward and work? How do we empower and not only have people who simply follow? So I think on one side, we need to have the right talent. We need to develop the right talent. On the second side, we need to empower them. We need to create that sort of atmosphere where people feel that they have the same liberty, they have the similar freedom to work on different ideas the way they have in offices. So I think we have to work on both, but the biggest crisis is to get the right talent.
Thank you, sir. You very aptly summarized that. And next one is kind of a follow-up to this question. So, sir, operations is a very tough, harsh job. It is at least perceived as a tough and harsh job. Sir, it is quite often that people, specifically in automobile operations, are always exchanging love letter in red emails. उतना ही नहीं, अभी बहुत बार चलते चलते हम सबको पता है, हम एक दूसरे का, माँ का और पिताजी का हालचाल भी पूछ लेते हैं. If I'm right. So, sir, I mean, within this environment, it's really challenging to manage a lot of people. And as we already discussed about, there are hundreds, 500s of people who are daily working on shop floor. We would love to know your mantra of handling people, doing overall people management.
Don't manage people.
Wow.
No, I'll tell you why. Because, again, traditional understanding of managing people is, I tell you what to do, I'll review what you're doing. Don't manage people. Listen to them. So when you hire, you hire the right people. But once you have hired, and I'll tell you, it's always when you have hired the right person, why do you have to be always behind that person?
Amazing.
You don't have to be. What you need to do is that person who comes to your company new will face a lot of challenges. You just need to listen to understand what the problems they're facing. Many a times, you don't even have to solve for it. They'll find their own solution. They'll find their own way. We just have to listen. And I'll tell you, if you're leading large teams and if you're leading a lot of talented people, there is a book called Theory of You. It's all about listening. And it talks about, and the four stages of listening is what it talks about. First one is you listen with your mind. Second, you listen with your heart. Third one, you listen from the person's shoes. And the fourth one, which we never talk about, is, am I able to listen to something that the person is not even saying? Which basically indicates, am I able to see the potential in that person that he or she himself or herself is not able to see? The moment you show that to your team, the moment you show that to your people, they will automatically do what they want to do, what they have to do.
I think, sir, don't manage people and listen to people is the first principle, and Ather always follows the first principle. I think this answer deserves a big round of applause. We miss this. All of us in industry quite often miss this, and this is what going to the basics is all about. Sir, in the times of joint ventures, acquisitions, IP, design, buying out, flowing around, Ather is one such company that has really stood the test of time. And it has truly focused on doing R&D from scratch. We would really love to know how doing R&D from scratch constitutes into making operations better and more efficient.
Yeah. So I think there are two things. If you look at, as I mentioned initially as well, when you do true R&D, when you develop something from scratch, you know about that thing more than anyone else. I'll give an example, right? If you are not developing your own BMS, I'll take one example, and let's say you buy from a company like Bosch. You don't know enough about the BMS. You give some parameters, you get that, you use that, and your vehicle uses it. You also don't know about how your vehicle actually responds to that. You only know, I wanted this, I got this, I'm using it. Now, you face you're facing a problem because it's not working properly. You go and everyone who uses, let's say, SAP in their company, they know, if you want to change, you'll say, wait for 2 years. That's the next patch coming, right? The same is true if you're dependent on someone else from design perspective. They'll say, yeah, but this BMS I supply not only to you, but I supply to, let's say, TVS as well. They also, now I'll need some time to, so any problem that you face in manufacturing, today, our teams directly work with R&D teams to convey the problem they face, and the solution is very fast to come. Unlike having a design team which is working somewhere else, our design teams become a messenger. Oh, this is the problem which has come from manufacturing. Now let me tell it to someone like Bosch or a Conti. They, at their own time, when they're working on finding a solution for someone else, will also work on your problem solution. But that problem may never be the top 10 problem and may never be worked upon. So I think having a vertically integrated design approach, which is one of our core strategies, is something which helps us not only in improving our manufacturing processes. Just to give you an example, I mean, the newest platform of vehicle that we're building, what we also recently showed in our community day, has 50% work content in comparison to the work content we have for existing vehicle. 50% lower. In one go, from working on one platform to the new platform, your work content goes down by 50%. Now imagine the kind of productivity it will bring.
Absolutely.
So we all focus on shop floor to say, now let me get 0.5% productivity, let me get to 1% productivity. Having a very strong design team, working with manufacturing team, the benefits that you can get in terms of improvements is immense, because the impact of the change at design stage is much, much more. Also the impact of a defect made at that stage is much, much more than what happens in manufacturing. And that's why we retain that as a core strength to ensure that manufacturing also benefits.
Thank you, sir. And it's kind of like a story is being given because my next question little bit is in connection with this. सर हमें तो लगता था कि ईवी में पेट्रोल यूज़ नहीं होता है, बट हम न्यूज़ देखते हैं तो लगता है होता है, क्योंकि बहुत बार ऐसा दिखता है ग्राहक ने शोरूम के सामने ईवी पेट्रोल डाल के चला दी. सॉर्ट्स ऑफ न्यूज़ कीप फ्लोइंग अराउंड. बट वेरी सरप्राइजिंगली with whatever knowledge is available in open domain, we could notice that the Ather's overall ratio of having customer complaints is very, very low, almost negligible. Sir, what is the secret of Ather's recipe of defect-free manufacturing is what we would like to know about.
So I think it's not that we don't have problems. I would be lying if we say our customers don't have any complaints. They do have, but I agree with you. It's much lesser in comparison to a lot of our peers. There are three important points in my opinion. One is that we don't rush. While I spoke about speed, it's not about speed at the cost of something, right? We want to do faster, and we have a cultural value which we talk about. Move fast, but don't break things. So you have to be faster. But what is the call that you're taking in the end? You want to compromise, and as I mentioned, 5 to 6 years before launching the first product, essentially ensured that we had tested the product. Today also there are more than 3,000 tests that we do on our vehicle throughout, right from design to testing validation to factories, right? So I think one is the initial product R&D and testing, which played a huge role in ensuring that we develop a product which is perfect. Second one, we always say, right, if you want to go to Mars at least, or Moon, you have to at least talk about Mars. Then only land at Moon, right? And that's why if you look at Ather philosophy, we don't talk about build for quality. We talk about build magical experiences. So our mantra is build magical. What is magical? Magical is something which truly wows people. So when you focus on wowing people, you will definitely land at something which the customer will not be dissatisfied with. So you aim here, at least you will land here, right? That's the second one. And the third one, I think, is overall culture. I'll tell you, there are enough factories that I have worked in. If there is a defect, the founder will come or the plant head will come and say, hey, has someone seen it? If the answer is no, why don't you dispatch? I think we truly believe, and all our teams at the factory are empowered to say if there is a problem, they stop. So while Toyota Production System speaks about it, I think how much of that is under practice when no one is watching. Yeah. And there is a quote, there is a famous quote, integrity is about doing things right when no one is watching. Same true for quality. Are you doing it right? Are you not simply dispatching the vehicle if it's defective, even if no one has watched? And that flows from top. If someone comes, if I go on the shop floor, Swapnil goes on the shop floor and says, hey, no, we have to meet month's target, let's go ahead and dispatch, the culture is ruined, right? So we always talk about how do we ensure that we set up the right culture. So, I mean, there are three aspects, as I mentioned. One is very strong R&D to ensure that the amount of testing that we do for the vehicles and the kind of culture that we set up for the factory.
That explains a lot about Ather's success and the rising success that we are talking about. Sir, coming to the last question, slightly twisted one, और थोड़ी हमारी मुद्दे की बात है. Sir, you are an IIT graduate from Kharagpur, if I'm right. Ather founders Shri Swapnil sir and Shri Tarun sir, both are also IIT graduates. So now my question is, apart from becoming an IITian, what do you expect from the suppliers in this region? वो तो होने से रहा sir.
That's only a coincidence, by the way. No, I think expectation in a way when I was talking and when I said what is needed for this region to be electric ready, the expectation is same that. So I'll tell you, when we started to work on our first product 450, right? The biggest problem that Ather faced was, there is a new design we want to work. Not many of our partners, not many of tier 1 auto component manufacturers had the right engineering capability. Everyone had fantastic manufacturing facility. Everyone had great cost structures, but not many had the true engineering facilities that we wanted. So if you want to move into a new segment, that's a skill, that's a requirement which is non-negotiable. Because that is where not only the OEM or the vehicle manufacturer, but the partners have to work together. And for that, that skill is needed. That's point number one. So how do we ensure that we develop the right engineering capabilities? It does not only mean a 500 crore investment in R&D, or doesn't only mean that you need to have 200 engineers in R&D. It means, are we at least taking that as a priority to develop that capability? Second is speed, as I mentioned. One of the core things, one of the most important things when you want to, and especially as an industry, EV is still nascent, which means there is a lot of evolution, there is a lot of growth which is to happen. And during that growth, we will have to make a lot of changes. We'll bring a lot of new products, a lot of new platforms will come. All of those go through a cycle of doing basic design, testing, prototyping. Now, how does the industry speed up prototyping is something which is very, very important. I gave an example of the time difference that exists many times in what you get within India and what you get outside India. So how do you bring speed? And it will also happen only when you make those upfront investments to build capability. If you start building capability once you acquire the order, then you can never get that speed. So we need to get to that speed. And third one is openness to change. I'll tell you, auto component manufacturers or the automotive industry, I gave some examples, is not very, very receptive to change. We say, no, this change will cost me money. We enter into a negotiation. No, you are asking 5 changes can happen per day, but I will allow only. It's not a negotiation.
That's great. Great to hear, sir. Thank you so much. And yeah, with this, we would like to open for audience question. We would take only 1 or 2, given the paucity of time. 1 question it is.
So I mean, life is all about balance, right? And it's not only in this, it's everywhere. You have to hire right as well as train, because when you hire, you are hiring for a skill that you can see now. As I gave enough examples, that skill may not be needed 5 years down the line, you need something else later. So you have to train. When you hire, you can never hire someone with a 100% match of what you want. You'll probably, if you're lucky, you'll get 60-70% of what you're looking for. The balance 30% you have to train and fill the gap. So the investment has to be right on both hiring as well as training. It cannot be either or. No one can say, I'll hire the best of the people from the world and hence I don't have to train. You have to still train. You have to train on culture. You have to train on what skills required for future. So the answer is both.
Wow. Sir, it has been a phenomenal interaction. And finally, to sum up the session, I would only like to share what I truly feel about having you here, sir. But let's make it a little interesting. I would like to ask audience, what are those 3 magical words in automotive domain that we keep hearing? Can anyone tell? Well, that's a good choice. You're close. Please.
Line banda padli.
Line banda padli, there is shortage.
Yeah. Line banda padli.
It's absolutely the same. Line band padli. This is the one thing that we keep saying about day in, day out. That is the biggest fear that we have. But sir, आपका नाम है संजीव. संजीव का अर्थ होता है जीवित रखने वाला या जीवित करने वाला. So, sir, having you here, we are assured of one thing कि एथर की लाइन बंद पड़ना तो दूर है, but वो और जोर से दौड़ उठेगी. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thanks
a lot.
Thank you so much.